Holiday time is really a tricky time of the year, not only for me professionally and even personally, but for a lot of the people that come and see me or contact me for consultations. It is just a really hard time. It was no less than 2 years ago that my grandmother passed away unexpectedly after we had celebrated Christmas together. And since that time, I've noticed within myself a change. I've also noticed within myself not only a greater appreciation for life and for human connection, but I think I've also noticed the holidays do not seem to bring me the joy that they used to. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. Holiday time is tricky, especially if you're dealing with death and loss, you're dealing with grief and loss, you're dealing with toxic family members, you're dealing with existential concerns, which I'm going to explain that in today's video. It really takes a strong heart, a strong mind to be able to maneuver and navigate the holidays. And let me just say, in a universal way, I think we are all pretty tired after COVID, right? We were locked up in the house for almost 3 years. Our life was completely different. I think it's traumatizing in and of itself. And here we go. We're being pushed into the holidays. And I think for most of us, we just feel like we're not really ready. We feel a little bit caught off guard, So in today's video, I should say, I'm going to talk a little bit about the holiday blues and the toxic family relations and kind of some of the existential thoughts and feelings that you may be having about this holiday. So before we jump in case you are new, let me go ahead and briefly introduce myself. My name is Tamara. I'm internationally and board certified as a trauma therapist. I'm licensed in mental health. I specialize in treating children, teens, and families, as well as adults who are dealing with trauma right in my private practice. Let's jump in. I think I may have said this in the past on some of my videos that I do love the holidays. I love the human connection. I love my spiritual and religious beliefs that goes along with that. And I also love just, being off from work, number one, spending time with the people that I truly love and being able to kind of take that break before the new year. So that's the piece of that I like. But, there's a lot of tricky things that goes on in the holidays. And so you may find yourself feeling kind of like me, right? I like it, but I don't, or I like it, but I'm a little bit afraid to really jump in, right? I don't know how to navigate this because of so many things that's gone on in my world, my life, my heart, my mind. And that for me is what's known as existential discomfort. Now, existential discomfort is a term that really is, I'm going to say it's a little bit different than existential anxiety, but it's a term that I use with my clients and I've used for many years to describe an individual who feels really, really restless and kind of uncertain and a little bit unsure about things and a little bit, haphazard. You feel a little bit uncomfortable, just a little nervous about something in your life that's more spiritual and philosophical, and you don't know how to find peace and rest with it, And so existential discomfort is something that I'm sure a lot of you deal with. Most of my clients deal with it around holiday time. They don't know how to reconcile the fact that they are distant from their family members or estranged, or they have been violated sexually, emotionally, and psychologically by a family member, or they've been traumatized by a family member, so much so that they don't want to be anywhere near them, and yet at the same time, the holidays really does sing its praises to families and family gatherings and family get-togethers and things like that. So it's hard to reconcile that. It's hard to reconcile that pain with the reality of the holidays. And so what do, right? We kind of experience a cognitive dissonance where we can't hold two opposing views in our mind at the same time. And so it's more comfortable to drop one view and uphold the other, right? Cognitive dissonance kind of helps us get through it, right? And so we may celebrate it in our own way. We may go over to Aunt Susu's house instead of Grandma Mimi, right? Or we may not contact anybody at all. We just kind of uphold that view that you hurt me and I don't want anything to do with you, right? So you've got all that stuff going on that's more spiritual and existential and philosophical. And that's what causes the existential discomfort. I think also existential crisis is another term that you should be aware of, because what happens in an existential crisis is your mind and your heart goes through through this period of just strict confusion. You don't know if you want to participate or not participate. You don't know if your family loves you or doesn't love you. You don't know if you're going to be able to mend anything with them for the holidays, and then you guys go your own separate ways after. Like, nobody really knows each other. You're just together for the holidays and that's about it, right? You don't know how to deal with that. And so an existential crisis says this, that I'm severely depressed, I'm suffering from seasonal affective disorder, I'm suffering from major depressive disorder, I'm suffering from a mood disorder, my anxiety is really high, I'm having suicidal thoughts, I'm cutting myself, I'm engaging in self-harm, because I'm in this emotional and psychological state of crisis. And it's not that you're always going to be able to see the symptoms or the behaviors of the crisis necessarily. The crisis could just be going on within you with opposing thoughts and opposing feelings and all of this confusion. It's normal to experience that, but a lot of people struggle with existential crises, and they have a hard time identifying when they're dealing with it themselves. Let me also mention that within an existential crisis can also be learned helplessness, where you kind of get stuck and you don't know how to shift. You don't know how to pivot. You don't know how to go to this place over there where you're safe, because you're afraid that no matter what you do, it's not going to work out for you. So you can kind of get stuck in that place of learned helplessness as well. What do you do to cope? How do you go from all of these different experiences that you're having and all these emotions and all of these thoughts and all of that? How do you deal with that, right? And then go through the holidays. Do you go through it, or do you pause? Do you pump the brakes and say no holiday for me? Or do you redefine the holiday for yourself? Do you celebrate the holiday with your friends instead of your family? How are you going to pivot this and manage this? So I want to give you some coping skills. I think the first thing that I would suggest is you want to really identify those replacement behaviors. Now, holidays has a way of really conditioning us to think and behave a certain way. And even though we want to pump the brakes on the holiday and we don't want to delve in, and we may not be able to deal with the things that are coming with the holiday because it's painful, right? It's a reminder, it triggers flashbacks and negative emotions. Even though we want to put up that boundary and say, no holiday for me this year, it's really hard to get your mind and your body to really fall into place with you, because the holidays is a time that we've been conditioned to celebrate and to be happy and to be around people and to give and to wrap gifts, and right, so you're kind of conditioned. And so what you want to do is find a replacement behavior. What can you replace that conditioned response with? Here's the conditioned response, which is gift giving and celebrating with family and doing all those typical things. How do you recondition your response to the holidays? By incorporating some replacement behaviors. Replacement behaviors may be sitting at home by yourself, watching a movie, eating cake and ice cream, and opening up a gift that you bought and wrapped for yourself. That's a replacement behavior. Going over to your best friend's house and spending the holidays with her husband, or your boy pal, your guy pal, whatever, and having a Merry Christmas with them, and then going home at the end of the night. So you want to replace those conditioned responses and conditioned behaviors with healthier things, and that eventually moves all of that depression, the existential discomfort, the existential crisis that you're going through. Okay, the next thing is mindfulness and exercise. Mindfulness and exercise can sound pretty intimidating. I know. Mindfulness is not like this, you sit and you hum all day long and you just kind of get within your head. Mindfulness can be as simple as eating an almond and just experiencing the sensation of chewing, and kind of paying attention to all the different ridges in the almonds, and maybe the different, parts of it that's seasoned a certain way, because they have all kind of almonds out there today, right? So you can experiment with different tastes. So that's one example of mindfulness. You can also take a shower and a bath and be mindful, right? You can sit in a bathtub or in a hot shower, and you can just kind of zone, candles, a radio, right? For you guys out there, you can maybe go in the backyard and barbecue something and just kind of sit there and close your eyes and listen to the game on the radio, right? Look in the sky and kind of think about something that you've been wanting to process. That is mindfulness, really drawing attention to your now, drawing attention to what you're doing, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing in the now. Exercise, I think that's pretty explanatory, right? I love exercise. I do it all the time. Not every day like I want, but but it's at least 4 times a week, and it does help my mood and my perspective and my body, right? So you want to consider the same thing. If you can walk a little bit every day, do it. If you could do some jumping jacks, do it. If you can do a 12-minute exercise, do it. If you want to do yoga, do it. It's all good for your mind. The way that I want you to conceptualize this in managing the holidays, managing your emotions, your thoughts, all of that, is you want to consider that 50% of my survival is the psychology of all of this, while the other 50% is my blood pressure, it's my brain, it's my serotonin, my dopamine, my norepinephrine in my brain, my acetylcholine in my brain, all of those chemicals that allows me to feel emotions and experience life, all of those things. My survival is 50% working on that, and that involves taking vitamins, getting early bed rest, exercising, eating healthy, getting rid of gluten, whatever, right? Getting rid of sugar and toxins, and the list goes on. The other 50% is the psychology of this, which is as simple as watching a video like this. The other thing that I suggest as a coping skill is to remember why you're distant in the first place. You don't want to get so caught up in holidays that you forget why you distance yourself in the first place, and then you put yourself back in that uncomfortable situation to re-traumatize yourself, right? Or to deal with those things that you don't really want to deal with again. But being mindful of why you decided to distance yourself is the key, right? It's going to keep things in perspective for you. Be okay with being alone. You know, that's something I tell my clients to do all the time. Be okay with being alone in your family. Be okay with being alone during the holidays. Be okay with being alone in your family, right? So if you have to say it to yourself over and over and over, do it, right? It's a conditioning response, right? You got to condition yourself. It's a conditioned behavior, right? So you got to kind of condition your mind so that then you can develop new behaviors and replacement behaviors, you know? So be okay with being alone. I'm going to post my video right up here if you want to go check that out. It was pretty popular a couple months ago about being alone and being okay with being alone. So check that out. At the end of this video. The next thing is you want to explore the spiritual and existential pieces of the holiday for yourself, right? Am I just family oriented and I'm missing my family and I want to be a part of them? Or am I so caught up in the religious and spiritual pieces of this that, you know, I just want to be a part of my toxic, unhealthy, dysfunctional family just so I can feel like things are okay, just so I can feel like I'm doing right by God, just so I can feel like I'm doing my duty for the Christmas holiday, right? So explore kind of your motivations, right? Is it spiritual? Is it emotional? Is it psychological? What is it? I'm sorry, guys, I got distracted by something. I get distracted pretty easily, let me tell you. Those who have been with me for a couple of years, you know. You want to be aware of something that's known as FOG, F-O-G, and I talked about this in a previous video. Here it is right here if you want to go check that out. FOG is fear, obligation, and guilt. Fear, obligation, and guilt. And basically the idea is this, that unhealthy, dysfunctional individuals, narcissistic, sociopaths, pathological liars, they play off of 3 important things: your fear, your obligation or your feeling of obligation to them or to something, and your feelings of guilt. They play off of that. And when they play off of that, they win, right? So be ready for that. Be ready for someone to call you. Be ready for someone to text you. Be ready for someone to send you a Christmas card. They're really working on your feelings of fear, obligation, and guilt. So keep that in mind. The other thing is, you know, you want to plan to emerge in a healthy mindset. You don't want to go through the holidays. Halloween, if you celebrate Halloween, I'm not a Halloween celebrator, but if you do, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, you want to smoothly get through all 4 of those holidays without feeling traumatized and hurt and drained and belittled and minimized and condescended, and the list goes on. You want to emerge from this feeling good. You want to emerge maybe not feeling better, but maybe feeling good, feeling stable, feeling healthy. The only way that you can emerge in that mindset is to be mindful of what it is that you're doing now and taking all your existential discomfort and crisis, all of your feelings of insecurity and uncertainties about the holidays, all of your anger, your resentment, just your displeasure, you don't want to do it, your disinterest, take all of that and kind of hold that, work with it the best that you can, and then emerge with a healthier mindset. That is the best advice that I could give you or suggestion that I could make in this video today. let me know in the comment section below how you feel about this particular topic. Existential discomfort is something that's really big in my practice. I go through it at times as well. That second guessing, that feeling of uncertainty, that questioning, why do I have to go through this kind of thing? It's okay to wrestle with that. It's normal. So let me know in the comment section below if you're going through this and what your plans are for the holiday. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you want to get more videos like this and more, because we have a lot of cool topics coming up, and a lot of you have contacted me behind the scene with excitement. So stay tuned for that. Go ahead and hit that bell button, because that's going to tell you every time I post a live chat, a video, a story, whatever. So you want to be ready for that. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.